Hey there, welcome to Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. That's me. This is a podcast about making things up and making things happen. I love talking to creative people. I think art and creativity make the world go around. I like to lift up people that do that because it's not always easy or lucrative. And just this week, I saw a quote. Where did I see it? Oh, it was on one of my meditation apps that I like. And I'm going to see if I can get this right. It's not a long quote, but I want to nail it. Okay. The quote is this: creativity is intelligence having fun. And the person who said that is Albert Einstein. Isn't that cool? I like that idea. Creativity is intelligence having fun. That's right. So I'm talking to smart people having fun doing their thing. And today my guest is Kasey Mahaffy. He is an actor, and he is currently starring in the musical A Man of No Importance in Los Angeles at A Noise Within, one of my favorite local theater companies. I saw this musical the other day with my friend Danny. I cried through the whole thing. I just think it was so beautiful. Kasey did such a wonderful job. It's based on the Albert Finney movie from the 90s about a bus driver in Ireland who loves theater and puts on shows and eventually ends up having to deal with his sexuality. And, you know, coming out stories, sometimes we're like, we've seen enough of them or whatever. I don't know. Something about this story at this time feels so important, so moving. It's about the community. It's about all of the people that he works with that are in his little show in the church basement. And it's just so beautiful. Oh my gosh. The music is by Flaherty and Ahrens, who did Ragtime, one of my favorites. The book is by Terrence McNally. Noise Within always does top-notch work. Their productions are always elegant and artful, and the actors are so great. So anyway, I was excited to talk to Kasey, and I had also seen him in The Inheritance a couple years ago at the Geffen, which also knocked my socks off, which I've talked about on this podcast. So Kasey and I had a lot to talk about, but before we get to the interview, I want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by me. I do it because I love it. I find it really fun and fulfilling and meaningful. But if you want to support it, there are more ways than ever that you can do that. I've started a Patreon and a Substack. So I'm going to be doing a bonus episode every week. It's about a half hour, and it has different elements that I've featured on the show before. There's some observation deck stuff in there. There's some stuff I talk about, magazines from my past. I do So This Happened. But the main feature of it, and the thing I'm going to keep building out, is I'm very interested in the science of happiness and what makes people happy. And I think we are kind of wired to believe that we'll be happy when we get what we want out of life. But what if you don't? What if you don't for a really long time? Are you just not supposed to be happy? So that was a question I was sort of asking myself. And I started sort of reading and researching and taking classes, and I become very interested in this topic. I'm not an academic. I'm not an expert. But I find this stuff really interesting, and you get to experiment on your own self, in your own life, in your own head. And it's helped me. It's helped me deal with some tough times. It's made me more resilient. And I often find myself in public places around people that I don't know, but people that I look at and I'm like, oh, well, they've got way more money than me, or their career seems to be going great, or whatever, but they're vibrating with less joy. I'm like, I feel it. It's interesting. So I guess my point is, it doesn't matter what you get or what you have. You can find things that make you day to day just have more joy in your life. And that's what I'm interested in talking about. I think this Substack and this Patreon is going to be called Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. It keeps evolving, but that's what it is. And if you want to join for $5 a month, I post once a week at least. And you can do that at patreon.com, or if you're a Substack person, do that. And right now it's probably best to search Dennis Anyone, but I'm building it up. That's the plan, and it's going to keep evolving. And for the folks that have already done that, I really, really appreciate it. I'm enjoying it. And I thank you for your support. And the other thing you could do is become a subscriber to DNR Studios. I'm part of the Derek and Romaine family. They're a podcast group and a radio show that have all these fun shows. And for a monthly fee, you get my show early, and then you get all these other fun shows. So some of you are probably listening to this right now on the Derek and Romaine podcast network, or the app. But they have their own app. It's everything. So you can go to dnrstudios.com and learn more about that. I also want to get a plug in. The Mismatch game is coming up June 7th at the Gay and Lesbian Center here in Los Angeles. It's going to be a fun one. It's our Priding in Plain Sight edition. So, yeah, we don't care. We're just doing it in plain sight. All right, enough of the plugs. Here now is my interview with Kasey Mahaffy, the star of A Man of No Importance. Joining me now from just down the street in North Hollywood, California, it's Kasey Mahaffy. He is an actor, and he is currently starring in the musical A Man of No Importance at A Noise Within Theater in Pasadena, one of my favorite theater companies in LA. I go way back with Noise Within, and I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome, Kasey.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dennis. I'm so excited to be here.
So I saw the show a few days ago with my friend Danny, and I have this thing in musicals where I cry for no reason.
Sure.
Like, just the beauty of sometimes musicals, even when the scene isn't sad or poignant or anything, something about the music and the lights and the people, there's something overwhelming about it. And I'll just cry in a happy song in Newsies for no reason. But your show has plenty of reasons to cry that make sense. And I was a bit blubbery for sure. So congratulations. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I it must be a sadistic side of me that is very excited about making people cry. When I perform, I don't know what that enjoyment is. I should probably talk to my therapist, but I really appreciate that. I think it's a great compliment. And I totally agree. Music can be so evocative. And when you put it into the context of a scene and make a musical like that, it can be very emotionally overwhelming. And as you know, with Ahrens and Flaherty, the composers of this piece, who have also done Ragtime and other famous musicals, they have a very good sort of intuition with the human condition, and they know how to make you cry your eyes out.
Yeah, just like, oh, here comes that chord. Here comes that chord.
Yeah.
A Noise Within is pretty intimate. Do you hear people sniffling? Do you hear that kind of thing in the audience? Well,
I will say, due to the intimate nature of the space, and without giving away too much, the latter half of Act 2 is just sort of hit after hit after hit of emotional sort of stuff. And I will say, you were our first audience, our first preview audience.
I think I set the bar pretty high as an audience, a crying audience member. Yeah,
maybe they were following you.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Right,
but. As you know, moments between lines, moments between songs, and those silence, I sure did hear a lot of,
Yeah.
At the end of one song I have that is in Act 1 that's a little sad, I heard gasps, and that's why we do it. I mean, that's the exciting thing about live theater versus doing TV or film or whatever, is we have that sort of instant response from the audience.
I have a kind of dumb question, but you feel like a good person to ask it to. When you're playing a character, you're experiencing the world through their eyes. But there's also, as an actor, you're like, oh, this is a sad thing that's happening. So the emotion that you the job is to feel the emotion of the moment through the character. But sometimes it must be like, oh, this is so sad. You were in The Inheritance. There are parts of that are so profound that I would think it would be sometimes kind of hard to stay in your lane, as it were, emotionally, when there's so much power around you. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
It makes total sense.
My character wouldn't cry in this scene, but I would cry, because this is a lot.
That is so true. And it's a balance that you have to strike, that we call, when I went to undergrad, and what I learned as contextual awareness versus situational awareness, right? So one of them is, hi, I'm Kasey. I'm an actor playing this scene, and there's someone coughing out in the audience, and we're all here under these lights and telling the story and doing this thing. And then the other side of it, the other awareness is, I'm playing Alfie Byrne, who was an Irishman in the 1960s, and I just, had violence committed upon me, and I'm scared, I'm frightened, I'm in love, I'm excited, whatever the emotions are. I think the great part about getting older, if there is any.
There's tons of them, and we talk about them all on this podcast.
You're right. But I think it just makes my job so much easier, because I have so much more lived-in experience.
Yeah.
So when I'm in these sort of, I've never had a character in my entire 30 years in the theater. I've never had a character that is so personal and so connected to me like Alfie is. I share so many likenesses, so many circumstances with this man. I'm a middle-aged gay Irish man who grew up Catholic and is obsessed with theater, just like Alfie.
Right.
So I don't have a lot of work that I have to do. I just sort of have to let the situation wash over me. And there's a certain, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a certain aspect, an incident in Act 2 of violence that's committed and that you know of. And that same thing happened to me in my life. So when I'm in that situation, I don't necessarily conjure up that gay bashing that happened to me. But the emotions that surrounded that event, how I felt when I dropped my bags of groceries, when I was, how it felt to get punched, how it felt like I recall all of those emotional circumstances,
right.
But I don't want it, it can be psychologically a little bit triggering. So you have to be a little careful.
Right.
I don't really summon the circumstance. I summon the emotion that came from the circumstance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I would think with something like that, I don't think you have to do a lot of work to find it. I think those things are close. They're in us. You know what I mean? The body keeps the score, as they say.
The body does, absolutely. And as gay men, in particular, I think a lot of it is bubbling right under the surface. It's pretty easily accessible.
Tell a little bit about the story of the piece. It's based on a movie that starred Albert Finney, a man of no importance, which I'm definitely going to go back and watch now. Talk about what happens, what the characters are, a little bit about the story and the plot.
So I play a guy in his 40s who, a 40-year-old virgin, probably, who is absolutely obsessed with theater and poetry and all things Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde is his mentor and his sort of access into the world of art. For many reasons. And so I'm a part of this troupe of players. I'm the director at our local Catholic church, St. Imelda's. And we have our little community of our little theater troupe. And we're going to put on this play in this church basement, as we always do. But this time I choose Oscar Wilde's Salome, which has the church might raise a few objections about. With indecency, it has, as the dance of the seven veils. It has seduction. It has sexual sort of desire happening. And so when the church finds out about that, it's all about the pushback that our theater community is getting into with this church. And in the mix of all of this, I basically realized that I'm gay. So it's about a man, probably a little later in his life than he would want to, but a man coming to terms with who he is and what that means.
Yeah. I'm of a certain age. I've seen a lot of coming out stories in my life, a lot of films, a lot of, I go to Outfest and all of that stuff. And there was a period of time where it's like, oh, it's enough already.
Right.
And then suddenly the politics in the country and the world change. And you're like, oh shit, this needs to be front and center again. We need, you know what I mean? These stories, I'm sure that this story means more now than it would have under a different administration. Can you talk about what it means to be doing this show now?
Well, I really appreciate that question. As you might be able to remember from the inheritance, the political animal that I have inside of me is pretty strong as well. So,
right.
I think this came out during the George W. Bush administration, so that sort of makes sense as well in that context. Yeah, man, I mean, we have this absolute misguided asshole running this nation right now who has no interest in anything but, othering us, oppressing us, making fun of us and our trans brothers and sisters. And so here we are right back again in this society of oppression. And I don't know, but there's a knowingness now that our audience, mostly hetero-based, audience, there's a knowingness they have now. They have tools because this is, 20 years after this was originally produced or whatever, 20 some years. And they have the tools and the wherewithal to understand what we as gay people go through now. So it's a little bit easier to get them on our side because Alfie is so lovable, this character, he's such a kind-hearted individual who wants to do nothing but express joy in others. And so it's pretty easy to get the audience on my side, I feel.
Yeah. It's an interesting time to be doing this piece for sure. I'm sure it's more meaningful for everybody there. As they put down their phones from the day's news and like, okay, we're going to do the show now. I became very interested in the original production. Did it ever make it to Broadway or not?
I'm not too learned on that. I don't believe so. I believe that the one with Roger Rees, the original production, and Faith Prince, I think it was at Lincoln Center.
That sounds right, because I went and listened to the soundtrack or the cast recording.
Yeah.
People get mad if I say soundtrack. I have a theater queen friend. It's like, it's the original cast recording. I'm sorry.
Oh, God, I say soundtrack, too, and I am a stage actor, so I don't know.
Yeah, the original cast recording, but I went back and found that, and I do think it said it was from an off-Broadway production.
I have been listening to. I've known about this project. I was given the heads up a year ago. I've known about this for a year, which is never heard of in the acting sort of career. And so I have listened to that soundtrack every single day on my dog walk for one entire year. So much so that at the end of the year, when I had my little Spotify Wrapped playlist, it was like, your number one is A Man of No Importance, the original soundtrack, which is the most uncool. It wasn't Lady Gaga, it wasn't Beyonce. No. It was this Lincoln Center. Right.
No, I love it. Did you know you were going to be playing the role a year ago?
I did.
Yeah, that's wonderful, because I know I've been going to A Noise Within since the 90s when they were on Brand Boulevard.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that space. I have so many fond memories of it. I'm very a little fanboy about it. When I saw one of the actors that I've been enjoying for years one day in the box office, Deborah Strang, it was oh my God, it's Meryl Streep. To me, I'm a little bit oh my God, that's Jeff Elliott. I know all of them. I've been watching them for years. There's the guy that played Hamlet that's in your show. No, he was in the previous show.
Right, Freddie, yeah.
Freddie, who was the sexiest Hamlet ever. He was Hamlet's going to fuck you now. Let's just be clear about that.
He is the sexiest man with a big shock of silver hair. I mean, he's so gorgeous. It's actually kind of offensive. The whole, that's so funny. And Deborah she is the grande dame of our theater. She has earned that title. She is the Meryl Streep of A Noise Within.
But we'll do a smaller part. Doesn't always need to be the center of attention. She has this vibe that is
all of us do, Yeah. I mean, I may have known that I'm going to play Alfie, which is sort of almost a Hamlet level size role in musical theater terms, and I've known about this for a year, but I just did many productions there. The Skin of Our Teeth that we did there, and I
saw it.
Yeah, the stage manager that came on stage for 2 minutes. So we all. It's the sort of old base model of repertory theater where you're Hamlet one night, spear carrier the next, and we juggle that mix pretty deftly, I think.
Well, no matter whether the show captures your imagination or not, because they do a lot of classics, they do absurdists. Sometimes it's not always my cup of tea, but the production is always gorgeous. There's a craftsmanship level to everything that happens, an artistry that I don't know. I'm a little bit in awe of what y'all are doing over there. What's it like to be a member of that company?
It's incredible. I mean, I really I know this sounds so hokey, but I wake up every single day of my life and I just count my blessings and consider myself one of the luckiest actors in this town. It's so rare to be in a model. It's a pretty much extinguished model at this point. Most theater companies around the country and regional theaters, they just hire per show. They just cast per show from a casting director. But we have a resident company. We get, it doesn't mean that we're guaranteed casting, but we get casting priority. There's about 15, 16 of us. And, I do about 4 shows a year there. And I have a job. That's my day job, is to be able to get on the stage and tell these incredible stories with that amazing production value that you were talking about. So, man, I mean, and I got this hot husband. I got a dog that I love. I mean, I have a house. I don't know. I every single day I just wake up and think I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Well, I wrote down what you said in your bio, because it struck me as kind of what you're saying now. Kasey loves living in LA. First of all, I love that first sentence. Loves living in LA. Nobody ever puts that in their bio. It's awesome. With his husband, Francisco, and his animatronic teddy bear dog named Rizzo. So is it animatronic? I'm confused. Is it a real dog or is it a robot?
It is definitely a real dog.
Okay.
He's a golden doodle, but he walks around the house. He looks like the Disney Hall of Presidents version of a dog. He is a stuffed toy, the most adorable thing that you've ever seen in your life.
I love that. Well, I'll probably see you walking in the neighborhood. Do you ever go to the dog park on, I used to take my dog there all the time, but not so much anymore.
Yeah, I do. I used to go to the one down in Whitnall, but now
Yeah.
I go to the NoHo West at the mall because they have one there that's like brand new and nicer.
There's a dog park over there?
Yes, it's secret. Don't tell anybody. Although
Oh my gosh, Enzo, we have a new. He's asleep. He doesn't care. He coaches my interviewing techniques. I'll finish one. He'll be like, "Not your best." Anyway, yeah. Noise Within doesn't do a lot of musicals, at least in their history, but it feels like they're doing more now.
Correct.
Is that right? Because I don't remember seeing musicals there in the first decade or two that I was going.
Correct. They don't. They if they do a musical, it's not for the sake of doing a musical. It has to say something. They're never going to do 42nd Street. Right. They're never going to do, a musical for musical's sake. It's going to have a context and a situation that is like, being done for a purpose. There has to be a reason to do it. And right now, I think, it's a little too on the nose to do Assassins. So they didn't want to do anything like that. But they do want to talk about this administration and what it means to be othered in society and what it means to be pushed aside or be given less rights. And this is sort of like, beautiful rebuttal to all of that.
Yeah. It's set in Ireland and everyone does really well with the accents. What helps you with that? Is that something that comes pretty naturally to you, or do you have to really work on it? How do you approach that?
A little bit of both. So a lot of us have training. You go through actor training in undergrad or graduate school, and you learn the International Phonetic Alphabet. So there's sort of like a mathematic way to plot out words and how to sound them with your mouth and the shapes that you have to make with your mouth and your face. But we have a dialect coach named Andrea, and she's absolutely incredible. She's done most things out of Noise Within. She did Jane Eyre right before this, and she can do anything, any sound. And she coaches us. We go through the script with her during this part of the rehearsal process, just as you're learning music, just as you're learning your lines, just as you're learning your staging and holding your new props. You also have dialect coaching sessions where you sit down with Andrea at a conference room table, and I say, what is this sound? And how do we do this? And she shows you how to move your mouth. She's an incredible fount of knowledge. We spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time listening to like Colin Farrell and interviews, just casual interviews. Because a lot of people, when they tackle Irish, like a dialect like that, they start sounding like the Lucky Charms,
right.
thing. And that's not really how they sound, what we think how they sound. So we just wanted to kind of put it in a natural sort of place. There, we do have an added bonus. We are very, very lucky that one of our cast members, Neil, who plays Father Kenny, he's from Dublin, and he just got here, 10 years ago. And so he was such an amazing resource to have. And he would walk up to me slightly politely and be like, you got to say it like this.
That's so good to have.
Yeah.
He's great too. Everybody in the show is great. What's been challenging about it? Just as an actor, like what's the hardest part for you?
Well, the hardest part about this right now for me on this journey that's been almost a year long is now developing stamina. We're hurt. As I told you, the emotional life is just right under the surface. It's very easily accessible for this play, unlike many others. This is. I know who he is, and I know what needs to be done. However, it's 2.5 hours where I don't leave the stage, and I have fight choreography. I have 10 songs. I fall in love. I fall out of love. I sob. So when I'm done with this thing, I actually feel like I've been run over by a fucking Mack truck. And so I have to find, it's getting easier and easier, but as we're doing run-throughs of this thing, I'm trying to find spaces where I can conserve energy during the show and back off a little bit. Because if I push it pedal to the metal, I am done. I'm dead when this thing is over. I can barely drive home. I'm not joking. So it's trying to find the stamina that it takes to kind of do this night after night.
Yeah. There's a song in it that I am surprised is not a gay anthem. I'm surprised we're not seeing it every cabaret, and I'm surprised there's not a remix at Pride. Love Who You Love, right?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful and so simple, and I'm like, why isn't this song? I'm surprised, every cabaret that I go to, somebody isn't singing this song. It's gorgeous, and the message is beautiful. Go ahead.
I love it. I mean, it means so much to me singing those words, and it's even more powerful when the woman I'm singing it to sings it back to me in a different context at the end of the show. There's not a dry eye in the house when she sings it back to me. And she saves my character's life in that moment by singing the song that I sang to her. She sings it back to me at the end. And, it is a beautiful anthem, as is Welcome to the World, which is my last song, which is, I think, just as much of an anthem. Right. It's a short song, but it's just as much as an anthem as I Am Who I Am, in Lacage. It is a man saying, look, I got shit on, I got beat up, I have everything bad has happened to me in this world, but you know what? I'm still standing, I'm still here. Welcome to the world. I deserve to take up space in the world, and I deserve to be here.
As who I really am.
As who I am.
The piece is very wise, too, in that there are other people with secrets around their sexuality and around their romantic life. You're not the only one. So this message of love who you love is universal,
Totally.
And the show, you sort of have to, as you're watching it, you're like, oh, Catholicism is everything in this world. You have to kind of get to that place. And so the barriers that these people are facing, and the way that's sort of the rule of the town is basically Catholicism. Yep. And you have
at that time, I don't know about now, but at that time in 1963, the country was 95% Catholic.
Wow.
So,
So there wasn't another way to be.
No.
What I also loved about it was a Valentine to theater. There's a song about collaboration, about how everybody in the cast has something that they're working on that's bad, but you're like, in a week and a half, it's going to be art. And it's very much like putting it together. Like it's one of those songs, but it's just, I find it moving. I find theater moving in general. Talk about that song and the idea of this piece being a Valentine to theater.
I love that. And that song, Art, that you're talking about is absolutely a Valentine to the theater. And just as much as the show has gay themes and stuff like that, what it really is about is a group of people who are very, very different from each other, be that, personality wise, sexual orientation wise, whatever it is. They're different. They're very, very different from each other, but despite their differences, they come together to produce something bigger than themselves, right? Yeah. Which is what theater is. So that's the beauty, is that this message of this play is buried in this Valentine to the theater, where all these people have opening night in 10 days, in a week and a half, and they're trying to get this thing on its feet, and they're trying to come together to produce something bigger than anything that they are individually.
There's a character, I believe his name's Carney, who's the butcher, and he has a song. He's a butcher. He's a working class butcher in Ireland, Dublin. And when he learns that there's a show, he turns into Laurence Olivier. And he's like, I'm going up. Like the song is, I think it's called Going Up.
That's right.
And nothing else matters but that he's going up. I recently watched, for this crazy reason, this Liza Minnelli movie, Steppin' Out, from like 91. Do you remember this movie?
I remember it coming out. I don't know if I've seen that.
It's on Amazon. You have to rent it. It's worth a watch. But anyway, she teaches tap to a bunch of people in a church basement in Buffalo, and they show up and they end up being part of a show. Why do people want to do this? Why? What is it about? Because you do it professionally. You want to do it in a way that is all encompassing. But what is it about? Like, I want to be part of this show.
It's a permission point. It's an access point for people to get to an emotion, and it's a permission structure, to be able to live in art and access emotion and put yourself in a circumstance that's outside of your own world. And, that's why people are drawn to it. That's why these people do it in a church basement, in the show. And in the last few years, especially, I've become so moved by the idea of theater. Like, I'll go sit in some little hole in the wall in some LA parking lot that you didn't even know was a theater. And then you're sitting there, and then these people come out and they do this thing, and we're part of it because we're sitting there. Like, I just find the whole exercise really moving. And like, I don't know, what a thing to do. What a thing to want to do. Because it's so funny. It's one of the most original of all art forms, know, started in, ancient Greek times, in BC, you have the Greek chorus up there on the stage in the amphitheaters, and it's been going on for thousands of years. However, it still is sort of new and fresh, always being revolutionized. And now particularly, I think with AI and, film, and we're going to have robots writing our scripts. We're going to have, oh, God forbid, fake robot performances. And there's all this threat of all of this stuff, with technology and with social media and everything coming through. And then you have this somewhat archaic event of people coming on a stage under lights and telling a story live. And now it's almost become like Vanguard again because of all of this new technology.
Right. You can see a point where somebody, I read online recently, somebody was like, oh, we should get a little stamp that says no AI was involved in this. Like almost like a seal of approval that you could tell people this is all real art. It feels like there'll be a boon to that world, and then maybe a backlash where it becomes sort of like, oh, I want the real thing. I don't know. It's the wild, wild west out there, but
it is. I'm sticking with it. I'm banking on it because listen, I've been doing it my whole life, and there's nothing else I can do anyway. Now I'm in my 40s. I am banking on this because like AI may come for other jobs in Hollywood. It may come for jobs on TV and screen, but nobody's going to want to pay to watch holograms walk around on stage. I think that the whole draw of the theater is watching real people in real time go through real emotions.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping that there will still be a market for that.
Yeah. I have another question about A Noise Within. The costumes and everything's always top notch, right? What's their costume area like? Do they just have everything? Is it just like a dream?
Yeah, it's, so we have a pretty great costume shop. That
is it under the theater? Where is it?
It is under the theater. And there's, a regular working costume area that's the size of, I don't know, like a big sort of grand room with, 4 sewing machines and stuff like that. But then there's this weird little bookcase door. It's almost like a secret passage that we call the door to Narnia. And when you open it up, there's just caverns of like hanging suits and dresses and plaid and gingham and textures and color and, all that stuff. And we also do a combination because we don't have a whole lot of space. We rent, when we're building a show, when the designer, every show has a different designer. When they're building a show, there's a combination of, building costumes from scratch, renting them from other theater companies or opera companies, stuff like that.
I love it. How intense was it to get in? Is it a big audition process? Is it hard?
I've been in for, as I said, it's been about 10 and a half years now. Yeah. I got in as a director, a guest director. Who I'd worked with before was doing The Tempest there, and he wanted to bring me in. And then ever since then, I've just kept getting hired. I'm very fortunate for that reason. I think it's getting harder and harder as The Noise Within's quality and reputation is growing so much. I think now it's getting competitive. And if you talk to a lot of like young theater people, like they're just, I'm dying to get in there. I'm dying to get an audition, So I think it's definitely gotten more tricky as it's become more known.
Yeah, I'm like, Noise Within is to me like BTS or like NSYNC. I'm like a fanboy for the whole enterprise. I've seen so many things. I saw one of my best memories is going to see The Little Foxes, and Deborah Strang was Regina, I think. And then they did another part of The Forest, which was the prequel, and you could see them both in a day. And I got a big group. This was in Glendale. We may have gone to Chevy's in between. I don't know. And we went to both of those Lillian Hellman plays, and it's just amazing. I could still picture her standing there on those stairs. Anyway, it's a whole thing. I want to talk to you about The Inheritance, which was another play you were in at the Geffen. It's the epic play by, is it Matthew Lopez, the playwright?
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's 2 3-hour blocks. It's a whole thing. I feel like that play speaks to my generation in such a profound way that you just start crying from the second it happens. It's about gay men living today, but it also deals with the AIDS crisis and all of that sort of, I think that trauma that had sort of been unresolved. Like, that was a powerful piece as well. What was that like to be a part of? Because it was, the cast, I'm sure, was bonded like crazy. Like, it feels like more than a show. It feels like more than a gig. Can you talk about what that meant to you to be in it?
Yeah, I mean, it meant the world, to be honest with you. The Inheritance was one of those career benchmark moments. It was not just a job. It was a life-changing event. It's rare that we get to even play out gay men on stage. You know, usually we're doing something else, or a Shakespeare play or a musical. It doesn't have anything to do with it. Or we're having to fake like we're straight or whatever. And to be in a show with 14 queer people put on a stage with a Broadway budget and 7 hours of theater. It was 7 hours of theater.
I saw it twice. I went twice.
In 2 plays. Well, thank you. Congratulations for making it through.
Yeah.
But to be in something that was like that on the level of in Angels in America changed my life. We're still we're good friends.
I bet there's a text chain. Is there a text chain?
Of course, and you do not want to see it. Yeah.
What do you guys talk about? Do you talk about Katy Perry's weird choreography?
Yeah, we goss. We talk shit.
Yeah.
We celebrate one another. We have a lot of I put a little blurb for A Man of No Importance on the thread, and I said, hey, for all of you, because some are in New York, you know, but I said, for you local ones in town, like, this is a gay musical, and I would really love to share it with you. So they're coming Thursday night. We have like 4 we're inheritors now.
I love it.
Four inheritors, Tuck Watkins and Bill Brocktrup and a few others are coming Thursday night. And, you know, I just feel very supported by that community. That will forever be sort of like life before that play and life after it. So it was a very profound experience. And talk about crying. I mean, oh my God, at the end of the first part of The Inheritance in Act 1, when we're listing all of those, names of people who died of AIDS. I mean, I heard grown men
howling,
wailing in the audience, howling, like just sobbing. And you just want to hug everybody afterwards. It's brutal.
Well, we've been living with AIDS for 40 years? And I think the culture goes in waves of like, oh, I don't want to think about that right now, or I can't deal with it right now. And there was something about The Inheritance when I saw it. I think people my age are looking at it in a different way. I interviewed Paul Rudnick recently, the playwright and novelist and gay icon. He writes about it in one of his recent books. And he talked about doing a documentary recently, sitting for an interview, and they were interviewing artists about the crisis and what it was like to be making art at that time, playwrights, people like that. And he said he sat down to do it and he couldn't stop sobbing. And
of course.
But at the time, he was able to kind of manage and keep it together. He wasn't a big crier at the time. And,
wow.
And there was something, I think there's something about checking in with that story, which is ongoing, obviously, and going, holy shit, that happened.
Yeah.
That happened. I was a little young for I was a little under that age where it was happening to all my friends. I was far from out yet. I was 19, 20 when it sort of burst on the scene. But just imagining, like, just everyone you know getting sick, dying, disappearing.
I'm friends with a lot of older queens and, entire generations of their friendships. I have a group of about 10 gays, a gaggle of like 10 gays that are my besties. And we have brunch together and we go to plays together and operas and things. And like, we, have little events, we get together and get stoned and giggle and all this kind of watch Drag Race, whatever. And I was talking to my friend, my older friend who, about it. And he was like, imagine if Joe and Mike and Peter and Eric and Francisco and everyone else died. And you had to go to the hospital every month to go say goodbye to these best friends of yours. And it was just you alone. Well, that's my story, and we can't even imagine. It's hard to even imagine that. And art does such a good job, I think, in keeping that story and those memories alive. I don't know if you got a chance to see the Keith Haring exhibit when
I did.
And it was all chronological, right?
Yeah.
So you're going through it and you're seeing when he burst onto the scene and the parties he had with Madonna and like all of this fucking cool shit, his best friendship with Basquiat, and you're seeing his art and you're going through and you get to the final room and you see unfinished it's
the purple one that's unfinished.
I fucking lost it. I mean, I was just looking at a piece of art, looking at a tarp of art that was not finished because he died, and seeing the rage and the anger and the sadness and the emotion that he poured into this thing, and he didn't even get to finish it. And there were other gay men that were standing there looking at it. We were crying together, we were strangers. Yeah. And it was such a powerful thing. It was such a powerful moment. And that's the only thing art can do. Only art can do that.
Yeah, it just must have been so meaningful to be part of that piece. And your character in that was kind of he was a little argumentative. He was a little sassy. What was it like to play that part? Like to be kind of like a shit stirrer and
Oh, well, see, I'm like a political junkie anyway.
Right.
And I'm like the most anti-Trump, like anti-MAGA hater and like Rachel Maddow addict. When this play was being done, now I need a little space from it during the second administration, but like the first time I was so fucking pissed off every day of my life that to meet that character of Jasper in The Inheritance, to study that, like it was all right there under the surface. And when I walked into that audition, I was like, I'm going to get this fucking part. I'm going to do everything I can to get this part. And I summoned a righteousness and a rage that I had not quite felt. And when I walked out of that room, I was like, I think I got it. Either that or they're going to put a restraining order against me. It's going to be one of the two.
You gave them full dick. You're a full asshole.
Yeah.
Well, you did a great job in it. And you guys got to do the audiobook, which I listened to, which I was,
Yes.
Everyone that missed it, I was like, there's an Audible. What was it like to go in and record? What did it feel like?
That was amazing because it was sort of a gift because, first of all, it was a lot of money and I was very grateful. Second of all, it was right when the show closed. It was like 3 days after the show closed. So when we were overwhelmed with sadness on that closing performance, we knew we were going to see each other in 3 days and immortalize this story with our voices in a sound studio the next week. So it was sort of like a soft landing to goodbye, which was nice.
The thing about the piece for me is it's very long. It's very rich. I can't put my finger on why I find it so moving. I can't say, it's because it's this. It just gets me, right? And the character of Eric Glass, I find him heroic. Like, I think he's a hero. I think he's a role model to me.
Absolutely.
And I'm not even sure why. He's just a decent guy, right?
Yeah.
But I think he's like iconic when I'm like, I want to be Eric Glass when I grow up. And I'm not even sure why. Why? Because he shows up for people?
Yeah, because he's a well-rounded, well-learned young man who shows up for people in their lives, and he's a selfless human being, which is pretty rare in a lot of communities. So, he has a lot of qualities that Alfie and A Man of No Importance that I get to play have. Actually, these characters, they are selfless. They lift others up. They celebrate others. They're very learned, very smart men, and compassionate men.
Yeah. Alfie reads poetry to the people on his bus. He's a bus conductor by day.
And I love the lyrics in the first number. That opening number, by the way, is 10 and a half minutes. I mean, that is wild. That's a player. I don't know what they were thinking to be like, let's have this first number be 10 and a half minutes.
Right.
And, the ensemble sings things like, and the bus becomes something more than a bus. It's all because this man is reading poetry and changing their lives every day in this mundane way. Just they're trying to get to work,
right?
But he turns it into a special thing for them.
Yeah, it's quite beautiful. Friendship stories get me more than any other stories, more than romantic love stories and whatever. And there are some wonderful friendships in this piece, and. Yeah, can you talk about that part of the show, or are those different characters?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is so beautiful that like despite all of their differences, that these characters in this theater troupe, they come together and they love him, they love Alfie, and he loves them, and Alfie is in love with his best friend who drives the bus that he's the conductor of. His name is Robbie, and he is played by C.J. Eldridge, and he is such a beautiful actor, and he's this gorgeous, big, muscly, charismatic man who can sing high A's, and it's gorgeous to watch him gallivant around stage. He's easy to fall in love with every night, that's for sure. But the way that Robbie, that character, loves Alfie back as a straight man, but in a platonic way, and lifts him up and saves him in the end, is so beautiful, I think, and so rewarding and satisfying to the audience.
Yeah, that was my moment of like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah, and when he came on, and so we had never had an audience before.
Yeah,
and when he comes on at the end and says that speech to me and hugs me, we got applause and the show stopped. And we didn't know that would happen. We had no inclination of that it would affect people that much, and it was such a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I love it. I want to talk about acting in general. You've been recurring on Modern Family. You pop up in shows all the time. Grey's Anatomy. You were on that recently, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was recent.
Did you have you had an injury, right?
I did. It was more about I had an injury, and I got to have a cool cast and broken bone protruding from my body and all this. But it became more about my wife also got injured, who was pregnant, and it was more about like, is my baby gonna survive? Was where that went, and so a lot of drama there, a lot of fun. I've been very, very fortunate, man. I mean, things are really hard in LA right now. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think production's down like 35 to 50% less than when I moved here 20 years ago, you could get little parts. You could have a little career and you could play little co-stars and guest stars and waiters and things on TV and make a modest living and have health insurance and pay your rent. And now it's just damn near impossible. But, so I did enjoy a busier time when I was here before than now. I'm hoping those jobs come back. But yeah, I've gotten to do almost everything, man. I'm so lucky. I mean, pretty much any procedural where I had to say, I didn't kill her. I swear I didn't kill her. Like, that was me. I did
right.
A dozen of those.
When I interview out actors, I just like to ask what it's like out there now. Like you mentioned you played a straight character on Grey's Anatomy. Are those lines kind of more blurry now? What's the temperature in terms of like, is it a thing or not a thing?
I mean, I think a lot of conversations happen behind my back that I don't know about, and I prefer that.
Right.
I'm sure my agent and casting directors have had some pretty icky conversations. Just see the guy and know he's gay, but he can play straight, or what, he can butch it up or whatever. I mean, they always say, please be grounded. That's their quote. They're like, we need you to be grounded.
That's going to be the headline of this episode, because I always pull a quote. We need you to be grounded.
We need you to be more grounded, which basically means settle down, faggot. Because it's too much.
Right. God.
So I'll have to redo the audition in a more, quote, grounded manner. But, yeah, I mean, I think, it's so different. I mean, I feel old now, man, but it's like when I first moved here in like the end of 05, top of 06, it was, you didn't want to, it was like, don't tell anybody you're gay and don't be out and you'll never get parts. And now I'm like in The Inheritance and in gay plays, and I play gay parts, and then I play straight people on Modern Family and straight people. And I played the villain on NCIS where I murdered a bunch of people. You can do anything, I think, as long as your capabilities are there.
Yeah, that's cool. I like to hear that. Like, I watched a movie recently that was made around 2000, and it was that time when all straight actors were playing the gay parts.
Yeah.
And
still kind of happening, but yeah.
But I'm watching it going, you know what, this movie would be so better if it was actually a gay guy. Like, you could smell it. I'm like, that guy's not gay for 5 fucking seconds.
No.
And some actors pull it off. Like, I don't mind that they try, but boy, when they're not able to, you don't buy it, it's a bummer. So yeah,
I completely, wholeheartedly agree.
But you're very political, right? So how has that ever been at odds with what you were trying to achieve professionally? Like, I need to not be as political, or I need to kind of just play it cool to navigate. That's good.
No. No job is ever more important than my belief system.
Yeah.
No.
I also saw that you played Mark Cuban's assistant on an episode of Bad Teacher. I'm intrigued by Mark Cuban, the real Mark Cuban.
Well, we're pulling out the deep.
No, well, I was just going through the IMDb, and
I love it.
I'm like,
and let me tell you something.
The Mark Cuban, like
he was the nicest, by the way.
Yeah,
the nicest.
Our billionaires are way nicer than their billionaires.
100. I played his little assistant, and like I was running around. We had a scene or two at the coffee shop. I was like, "Mr. Cupid, I'm getting your coffee order or whatever," and like, we were in holding together between when they were setting up the shot and lighting and stuff like that. We would be in our chairs in little holding area together, and he could have been on his phone looking at his stocks. He could have been checking the Mavericks score, seeing how his team was doing. And he was asking me about my life and how long I lived in LA and where I live and what, where I'm from and my story, where I went to school. He was so sweet and very considerate. He's fun to work with.
I love it. Thumbs up for Mark Cuban. I love that your first credit on a TV show, at least on IMDb. Do you know what it is?
Oh, God. Crossing Jordan or no?
No, Joey.
Joey!
But I love that your character's name is red-haired guy.
Yes.
Red-haired guy on Joey.
Because Joey would call me. I was like his foil in this episode, and he kept calling me red hair. He was like, "Hey, red-haired guy." That was his character's thing. But listen, when you're young and you're in your early 20s and you just moved here and you grew up watching Friends.
Yeah.
When your first job is, hey, you're going to work with Matt LeBlanc all week and share the makeup room with Jennifer Coolidge, by the way.
Yeah.
And I would get into makeup with, and she was obviously a star, but this was before the Jennifer Coolidge movement, and I'm sitting here and she's in the dressing room talking to me in makeup room. And she's telling me these stories about the best story I've ever heard in her life. She got so mad at this driver one time that cut her off that she threw her whole venti iced cold brew on this car.
Oh, shit.
And this car followed her from Beverly Hills all the way to Glendale, that she was trying to get away from this person, weaving in and out of traffic. And imagine Jennifer Coolidge telling you that story as you're getting comic gold. And so it was really kind of amazing. Matt LeBlanc couldn't have been nicer. I was scared shitless. I was shaking. I was so nervous. And he's like, hey, when you're in a multicam sitcom, you want to be off my shoulder like this. You want to angle out like this. You're doing great. He showed me how to walk. He showed me how to move around and negotiate the cameras. He was so selfless. He knocked on my door before the recording day in my dressing room. And he said, hey, I always like to wish everybody to break a leg and good luck. I mean, the guy was an absolute class act. So it was kind of an amazing first experience.
I love it. And you were a red-haired guy. You got
I was red-haired guy.
Yeah, you got it. You brought it. When did you first fall in love with acting?
Oh man, I mean, I've always known I wanted to do it. I was 4 or 5, years old watching movies. I think when I was I know this sounds funny, but I would watch these like Tom Hanks movies when I was young, and I would watch like The Money Pit and Joe versus the Volcano, and I watched these movies and I love Big, and I was like, him, I want to be that, I want to do that, and it was just a flashpoint for me watching his work, and I've always known. I mean, ever since I was a kid.
Yeah. Was there ever did you ever think, oh, maybe I'll do something else?
No.
Always. That's
Never.
Awesome. That's good. I think I met your husband at a party like 6 months ago.
Oh, I hope he was clothed.
He had a cool outfit on. Like he was. It was an outfit. Like it was a thing. Maybe.
No, he is a dresser.
Yes,
he is. I love him so much, but I am somewhat conservative / boring in my taste and my dress, and he is one of the most flamboyant dressers I know. I think he stopped wearing pants during lockdown and COVID. I don't think he's worn a pair of pants since then. He looked at me during quarantine. He was like, I'm never doing that again because I don't want to. And I said, okay, that's fine. So he's not non-binary. He identifies as a man. He is a gay man, but he wears dresses most days.
Yeah, I believe that he was wearing a dress. He was giving a bit of leg. It was at Darren Stein's birthday party. Do you know Darren Stein?
Very well.
And I ended up talking to him for quite a while. And maybe I was going to interview him because he's on Matlock. He's an actor as well. Yes. It's interesting to have two actors in a relationship. How does that go for you guys? Is that a plus, or are there things that come up, or how is that?
No, I think now we've ironed it out. I think at the beginning when we were like dating, you know, there's a few times where we would go out for the same part in town and it was a little bit like, oh, okay, you know, but like no, it's now any victory is a victory for the house. You know, when he booked Matlock, he deserved it. He got it. I celebrated it, and vice versa. He's the first and loudest person to show up on opening night for me. And he plays Senator's Wife like nobody's business. He can work that lobby like you've never seen, shaking hands and you know, wearing just the best outfits. And,
what was the opening night outfit?
Well, that opening night will be this Saturday.
Oh, it's coming up. Oh,
and he also does this most incredible thing. I'm gushing now. So he gets me flowers every opening night, but they're always themed. The flowers reflect the theme of the play.
Interesting.
And so I get to guess the theme when I look at the flowers every time. And I just love that he does that. Like when we did Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, he got this like big vase of beautiful greenery, but right in the middle of the greenery were two sort of dehydrated roses that were dead to symbolize Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. And like he does, I'm telling you, he's like the most thoughtful, beautiful person.
I love that. And did he design the flowers himself?
Yep.
I love that because I remember talking to him at this party, and he has that side of him too. He was talking about design.
He does that. He designed our whole house. He's an interior designer as well.
Yeah.
So he designed our whole house indoors. He does our flowers every week. The way he dresses. I mean, that's how he expresses himself.
I love it. Well, where'd you guys meet?
Online. OkCupid.com. I don't even know if it's still as functional.
No, it's still a thing, but I have it. But I think I need to re-download the app because it doesn't work anymore.
Probably. I don't know. We're a success story. They mailed us a blanket.
You get a blanket if you fall in love on OkCupid?
I have a massive OkCupid Afghan that I will never I'll probably give away as a white elephant gift some Christmas. But it you know, you have to answer 501 questions, and it certainly narrows things down. And so it matched us up.
There you go. I love that they sent you a blanket. How did they find out that you were a success story? Did you let them know?
They said we were looking for success stories. They hit us up, and I was like, we got one.
I got one for you. I like to call it OkCupid. I just like, this is more of the reading I give it.
OkCupid, that's enough.
Okay, TikTok. Yeah. Oh, is that your cute dog?
That's my dog. Somebody must be at the door.
All right. Well, I will let you go. I just have a few more questions left. Tell people how they can see this wonderful show of yours, A Man of No Importance.
So you can call the box office or just check online at www.anoisewithin.org. We should be on the homepage right there. A Man of No Importance is the musical. Click on Buy Tickets. There's also a discount tickets, I believe. I don't know if I should be promoting this, but on Today Tix, you know, other affiliates like that have more discount tickets. It's definitely listen, like this is the one to go to. I'm telling all my friends. Yeah. I'm in a lot of shows, you know, being a resident artist, and I don't always push. I try to be polite and very sparing, but I'm pulling the card on this one. Every single person, like, this is the one. This is the one. Come see this one.
Well, I thought that I was watching it just as a person. I said, I want everyone in my life to come and see this.
I also want to pimp out Pride Night. I just want to make sure. I believe it's the 15th
of May.
It is May 15th at 7:30. Use code PRIDE online. Pride, PRIDE, for 25% off tickets. It comes with a drink ticket as well, so you can have a cocktail. And I think there's going to be a function in the lobby. Yes. And I don't know if you know this, but so Oscar Wilde was famous for wearing a green carnation in his lapel, which was back in the 1890s, a sort of underground subterfuge way of declaring that you were gay. So when he wrote his play, An Ideal Husband, on the opening night of An Ideal Husband, all of his gay friends that were, of course, underground and closeted, they all wore a green carnation on their lapel to that opening night ceremony. And everybody was asking, like, what is that? What does that mean? Why are these men wearing this? And what is that? Da, 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 da. And it became the talk of the town. So it's this very cool sort of subtle, I don't know,
inside thing.
inside things.
I just saw another play locally that I may do something for called Tasty Little Rabbit that has to do with Oscar Wilde. So there's something in the air.
Oh.
Yeah. By Tom Jacobson, local playwright that does a lot of stuff in LA. So Oscar Wilde is alive and well and living among us. So here's my final question. I was watching some of the clips that A Noise Within put out, the publicity thing. You talk about how this is like the first kind of big front and center part for you in a musical like this, in this kind of a setting. What has it meant to you so far to have this opportunity and to be telling this story? It feels like, okay, this is why. This is like, put me in, coach. Okay, here it is.
I can't put enough emphasis on it. I get emotional if I start talking about it too much. You know, a lot of jobs in this career are just that. They're jobs. This is the rare occasion where you have a dream role, you thirst for it, you want it, and then you're given the part and you get to do it with all the support of the entire community behind you. And the production value is as high as it is. The band sounds as good as they do. The cast acts like incredible circles around you, and like everything is at top notch. Everything is firing on all cylinders. And to do this part at this stage of my life right now is the most meaningful thing I hate to put too much weight on it, but it's the most meaningful thing I've experienced in my career. And every day I cry with gratitude, and I'm so grateful to tell the story.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's beautiful. Even like the color design of the program, and the set design, it all goes together. Like everything is just A+. And I was looking at the end date and I was like, that's not long enough. That's not long enough. I
know. It'd be cool if we could extend.
It's so good. I really feel like everyone needs to see it. And yeah.
Just want to tell everyone, get your tickets now and go now, because I think
it's going to sell out. The word of mouth is going to be off the chain. It will.
And we have that, what is it, competitive pricing or whatever, where things go up once they start selling. So definitely go now and get your tickets now, because it's going to, it'll be closed before you know it. And you don't want to miss this one.
Well, first of all, your performance, the whole cast, but this is a little gem of a show that kind of got lost. And I feel like maybe Broadway was too big for it. I don't know the story of it. Yeah. But it's a little gem of a show. I've been listening to the music. It's beautiful. If you like, Ragtime's one of my favorite musicals. But this is a more intimate story. It's not as epic in scope. And maybe the theater that you're doing it in, it feels like the perfect size. It's like this little gem.
I agree.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. What's your favorite moment in the show? Is there a favorite part where you're like, oh, I love this part?
I think when I get to sing Welcome to the World at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. It's a coming out story, but it's a coming in song. Like, it's like Welcome to the World. Yeah. There's something so, because he's lived all this life not being himself. All these years, and he finally gets to be.
Yeah.
Oof.
What an incredible moment.
Congratulations. This was fun. I'll see you in the neighborhood.
Yay. Yes, you will. Thank you, Dennis. It was great talking to you.
You as well. All right. Take care, Kasey.
See ya.
Thanks again to Kasey Mahaffy. Go see his show, A Man of No Importance. I'm trying to organize a group thing, but I don't know if I'm going to get it together. Tickets are selling fast, but if you're in LA and you're interested, email me at dennis@dennishensley.com. And if a group thing comes together, I will give you the info and we can make it happen. I definitely want to see it again some way or somehow, but I know the word of mouth is going to be crazy on that. So you can learn about that at noisewithin.org. All right, so this happened. I've talked about this before on the podcast. I'm part of a group of folks called the Xana Crew, and we just like the movie Xanadu. And we started hanging out and having luncheons and having guests, and we had jackets made. It's a whole thing. It's ridiculous. But the 45th anniversary of the movie is coming up in August. And so we wanted to plan something, and we've been having meetings and getting together, and it's starting to come together. I think there's going to be a screening on the Saturday the 9th. I think we know where it's going to be. It's not for sure yet, but we went around and took photos and videos of to promote on social media of different locations in Los Angeles that the movie was shot in. We wore our jackets. It's a whole thing. I'm like, every time someone says the word Xana Crew, I just laugh. It's so absurd, but they're nice folks and it's fun. And there is something about that movie. Like a few times during the day, people would come up to us and say, "What is this? I love that. With ELO and O&J, you can't go wrong." And there was two younger African-American women on the beach that we ran into in Santa Monica, and they said they watched the movie every Friday And I was like, this is way after, this is way before your time. How do you know about this movie, and why do you watch it every week? And they said their mom turned them onto it, and they just like that it's about being an artist, and they like it's about dreams coming true and pursuing your dreams. And I'm like, I think maybe that's it. Even as hokey as it is, and the music's great, but I think it's that message. There's a message about creativity and being true to yourself that resonates over the years. So anyway, if you want to be part of the magic come August, go to xanaduexperience.com. That's where we're going to be keeping track of our stuff. And I talk about our day shooting pictures a bit more on my extra bonus episodes on Substack and Patreon. So you can hear more blow by blow on that. All right, enough of the plugs, enough of the So This Happened. We're going to wrap it up. I want to give a shout out to Oscar Rosario for mixing the episodes. My theme music is by Mark Daniels for placement music. We will catch you next time on Dennis Anyone. Bye.